This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and this is Darcy Davenport Barlow. Caught up with her at her local studio here. It was over 9-10 years ago. You actually commissioned that first piece of work, but honestly, this art, this talent has been surfacing since you were a child. So tell me, what got you involved in art?
I ended up getting the gift from my dad. Early on, I just knew I had this gift that I loved, that I was absolutely passionate about. And even in my early years, in elementary school, junior high, high school, I ended up doing some amazing pieces. And I just ended up working my way away from art, as I ended up getting older, going into business and doing what I needed to do and not following my heart. It's coming back around, and it's even coming back more intense than before.
Let me ask you, you did some great pieces when you were younger. What was your favorite medium back then?
Back then, I did a lot with oil, and I explored that, and the artist that inspired me to even start was Thomas Kinkade. The intricacies of his works and the lighting really intrigued me in terms of bringing that into my painting. So, yeah, I would say probably early college is when I started painting on canvases and exploring more and more.
And is that still your favorite medium?
I've moved to acrylic from oil just because of the drying time more than anything else. Just with oils, it takes a number of days, weeks to dry. So I do like oils though because I can manipulate the paint really well, but with the acrylic it dries faster.
Wonderful. Who is the old artists out there in the past that still inspire you? Who's your favorite?
I love Monet. I love water lilies. Just the colors. Eventually I'll do a piece, and it's been on my mind to do a water scene with the ripple effect and having the reflections from the sky and the trees tie into the water scene itself. There's an artist in Santa Fe Road that does that type of work, and I love that as well. So nature's great.
I notice some of the pieces you do. You basically can take a favorite from the past, create it, make it your own, and honestly, when you're sitting there and you're working on something like that, is there a certain energy that you feel basic from an artist, or is it all a soul work of you?
With my art, it's truly a gift, and so much of it is internalized. I really feel as if I can be a conduit for some of these artists. For example, I had done a piece by Picasso. That piece itself took quite a bit of time. What I do is I start with sketching the photo, and I make it my own, and I process it, and because I'm so in depth or deep into that photo or that painting, it's almost as if I internalize it. So I have to take some time to process through what I come across or what I create, let it go through the process, and then I'll create the piece. And it may take a couple weeks. And sometimes I may do it in a week, it depends. But I really do feel as if I can take these artists or even folks who take photographs, internalize the work that they're doing. So that's really one of my big niches would be with my clients or customers would be if they have a picture that they have in mind that they want to have painted, then I will take that picture, bake in a sense on it for a while, and then create it.
Wonderful. I think what makes it very unique is the fact what you just said. Quite honestly, in the world out in the art world, a lot of times the art starts with the artist. That's where the inspiration begins. You basically versus the person out there comes to you with an idea of something they might want, and then you kind of conform to their needs, their wants, and then go to work.
Absolutely. The Picasso piece, which is probably the most difficult one that I've done, the original piece that Picasso did was black and white, and the house that this piece went into has a lot of bold colors, so a lot of red, yellow, blues. Instead of keeping it black and white, I integrated the color format into the picture, the bold colors, to tie in with the rest of the house, and they absolutely love the piece, and I do too.
Wonderful. Speaking of loving the piece, how do you feel when you finally see something like your art up on the wall? Is it a year later? Is it a day later? When does that feeling overwhelm you and say, that's pretty cool?
It's interesting because as I'm going through the process, there is a point where I know it's done. So I could always be touching things up here and there, but when I know it's done and it settles within me as being the piece and it's completed, I just know it's internal. It's and what I love about this work is it's from my heart. It's not so much my brain. So when it's right, it's sitting solid.
Interesting. Speaking of being done, that is the final result everyone sees up on the wall and enjoys. But honestly, it's the process, the journey of getting there that you actually love. You actually document that for your client. Tell me about that.
I find it fascinating for me to see how these pieces evolve, and I think it's extremely important to document the progress. For example, with the Buddha that I did, I actually painted the face 3 times. I did the first face of it and it just wasn't gelling right. Painted it again, it just wasn't right again, and then the 3rd time around I nailed it. And as I'm progressing through the process, it's really fantastic to be able to see how it builds, and really for the person who owns the piece, I think it's important for them to understand, and it's another unique side of my painting that I'd like to share with them, because so many times our artists will have pieces up and it's just hard to fathom how the piece became the piece it is.
Especially in this world of instant gratification.
Right.
We take a quick picture, there it is, that took seconds to put together. Well, you're basically showing the whole progress as it goes along, and they take that journey with you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I notice you do a lot of commission of large pieces of work. How do you work on these? Are you comfortable to work them on an easel? How does that work?
Yeah, so I actually, with this piece, this is of Beaver Creek Chapel, started actually on the ground here, and it's so great because I have a lot of space to work within. So I'll start it on the ground, and I actually, I'll map it out in a grid, and then in the case of painting it, it just is more comfortable for me to be upright. Of course, with the other piece that I'm going to be doing here shortly of the Mayan art, it's a 5-foot by 3-foot piece, so it'll be very difficult for me to leave on my easel, so I will probably just end up painting it on the ground. I did another piece. It was actually a match of each other of an ocean scene, so those were 4 feet by 2 feet, 2 of those panels. So that was painted on the ground.
Interesting. Wonderful. And so someone out there, let's say they have a desire to get something commissioned. How do they contact you, and what do they do to get the procedure started?
I would say go ahead and give me a ring at 720-989-6700, or they can send me an email. That's the best place to reach me. I would say we would want to sit down and just figure out size and what they're interested in having on the wall, and then the colors. Obviously, if a picture's sent over to me or a number of pictures, that helps me to gauge what the picture needs to, or the painting needs to look like. For example, a recent client had sent me over probably 7 or 8 pictures of tattoos, and I'm actually creating a piece off of that, so they don't even have a picture yet, and I'm actually creating the scene and building the scene itself. What I'll do is sketch it for them and have the sketch be in the appropriate diameters of the canvas, just to make sure everything is good. From there, I will start creating and bringing color into the piece. Of course, if there's a piece out there or a painting that would go really nice with upholstery or whatever, I can also take that piece and then even match the colors to someone's house. So I'm very flexible and nimble and
very artsy.
Open.
And
I love it.
Wonderful. I think the viewers will get a clear sense of basically if this is something for you. Honestly, a lot of folks out there feel they love to have something commissioned, an original piece of art. Maybe you've been pushing that off in the past, and now it's time to listen to yourself and basically call up Darcy, and she will take you step by step and see if it's something that she would be able to work with you on. Let's say you've got a restaurant, possibly a lobby, or any commercial area. She would love to come in, as well as residential. Once again, her contact information at the bottom of the screen right there. Give her a call, email her, and she'll walk you through the steps. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.